Welcome back to the weekly updates of the games I've been playing, and this week I played 3 games, starting off with Lollipop Chainsaw Repop. So my opinions of this game hasn't really changed much from last week. The frame rate was still all over the place, the cutscenes were still stuttery. The game itself is good at its core, but the remaster is so lazily handled that it really tainted the experience for me. Unfortunately, I encountered a glitch that was not in the original game from what I remember. The first boss fight that I fought, when I did replays of some of the stages, the boss fight actually glitched and was invincible, so I was unable to finish the boss fight unless I reloaded a checkpoint. Even though it fixed itself after the checkpoint reload, it's still not an excuse that it's in the game anyway. Yeah, I still believe that you should wait for a sale for this one, like $20, $25 max, given what you are given here. If you've never played Lollipop Chainsaw before, unfortunately this is the only version that you're able to play on modern platforms. And I did play this game on PlayStation, and if that game is in a rough state, I could just imagine what the other 2 platforms look like. So just be wary of that. So that was Lollipop Chainsaw Repop. Next up is a game I've also touched upon last week, and that's The World Ends With You Final Remix. I put more time into this game. I'm close to 10 hours now, and surprisingly enough, this game is very addicting. I've been playing this game on a regular basis for the last week, and the controls are actually pretty fun to actually navigate and use, and the story is what's really keeping me going here. The story kind of gets crazier and goes to places I didn't expect it to happen, and if you've never played this game before, I highly suggest you try it out with this version in particular, because it is more accessible. Because if you want to play the original game, you have to have a DS, and I know the prices for DS can range. I forgot to touch on this last week, but the story is about a guy named Neku who happens to wake up in Shibuya, and he's invisible to everybody else except for a handful of people, and that's because he has been selected to participate in a game called the Reaper's Game, and he has to kind of win the game in order to be free. The game lasts a week. He has to be partnered with somebody in order to get through the whole week, and after he becomes partnered with a young girl named Shiki, they both navigate through the week and just trying to survive. And the thing about the game is it doesn't matter which player wins the mission that they're handed for the day. If one person succeeds, everyone else does. So it's a group effort. Now, this game, the combat is mostly through the use of pins, and these pins are the only way you can actually fight. If you don't have any equipped, you won't be able to fight. The only thing you can do is escape, and every pin has its own attributes and cooldowns, and the game encourages you to kind of mix and match and find your own play style. This game is also surprisingly deep. There are systems like food, where if you give food to Neku or his partner, they will increase their stats like health, defense, or bravery. And depending on the food, it takes a certain amount of battles to completely consume the food, and you're only able to consume certain foods with certain amount of bites on any given day, and it resets after a day. And you also have clothes that you can wear, and these clothes also give you boosts in your attributes, but they also play a part in the fashion trend in the game. So that's another mechanic where, depending on where you are in the map, there's a trending clothing line there, and if you wear that clothing line, you are given attack boosts. And same thing goes for if you're wearing the least trendy clothing in the area, your attack power will be halved. So that's a thing to consider. But you can also change what trends in that area depending on what pins you use and what clothing you're wearing as well. So that's pretty cool. And the music, I'm actually enjoying, surprisingly, because it is a product of its time, the mid 2000s style of edgy music. But overall, I'm very pleased with the game. I'm happy that I actually gave it a shot, despite hearing people saying that the Switch version in particular is not a great version to play. But if you guys are interested from what I've said, I highly suggest you check it out. That is The World Ends With You Final Remix. And last but not least, I've been playing Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. I'm holding up the original version of the game because the game has not yet received a physical copy. So my excitement for this game was through the roof. I played the original game for the first time all the way through in June, and I absolutely loved it. And I was surprised on how well it holds up, and it's probably my favorite zombie sandbox game. Now, the remaster was kind of in a little bit of a controversy with the changes that were made to some of the character designs, some of the backstory of a character, and the inclusion of guides in order to guide you where to go, which I didn't think it was necessary. And the changes to the characters themselves, like Larry, I didn't mind really because it was a stereotypical design, but that I understand. But Cliff's story and his dialogue, that really did bother me because it made sense the way he was talking, the words that he used, given he was a Vietnam veteran. So that, to me, that seemed ridiculous. The erotic photo genre that the game included in the original game, that being excluded, I understand, given what climate we live in now. I mean, the changes don't really take away from the game itself. They did add a couple of new features in the new game. They added new books that you can find and unlock. They added camera upgrades that wasn't in the original game. They added some zombie models that weren't in the original game. They also added a new weapon, the rocket launcher, that's also in the game, which was a nice surprise when I played it. And I did finish the game, and it just came out yesterday. And the game is not very long, but the game is very replayable, and the game has many different endings you can go for. And the voice acting was very nice. The fact that everything was voice acted, and I think the person that did Frank West's voice was good. It did sound different, but it sounded like he really wanted to do it, so it was nice. The gameplay is still very much the same from the original, at least very, very, very close. And that was very nice to see. And I know the gameplay is kind of quirky and stuff, so maybe some players might not be able to, like it as much. But the game does include a modernized control scheme, which I think works even better than the original game, because in the original game, if you wanted to dodge roll, you had to flick the thumbstick in order to do it, and sometimes you accidentally do it while you're just trying to move around like normal. And everything about it, like the visuals are incredible, of course, given the RE engine. And this game borderlines remaster and remake. I think it leans in more with remake than it does with remaster. But what was really nice too is they added the ability to have as many survivors with you as you want. So there's no restrictions with that, and so you don't have to have only 8 with you at one time. With that change, you are able to rescue everybody all at once if you really wanted to. So in the original game, you can only have 8 survivors out in the world at once. Once there's 8, whether it be in your posse or just out to be able to be saved, it caps at 8. So certain psychopaths won't spawn or certain survivors won't spawn when they're supposed to until you saved or kill those survivors. So that's a pretty nice change. And there's also like area changes as well, like Paradise Plaza looks completely different but very similar to what the original game intended it to be. As well as they added these metal gates that close off certain areas, but they're still accessible. But it gives it more immersion, I guess. Like the movie theater is closed off with the metal gate, but it's still accessible because there's a hole in the gate that you can get through. As well as the hardware store where you fight Cliff, that also has a metal gate that you can get through like normal. I guess they included those metal gates to make it more realistic, I guess. Yeah, if you've never played the original game, I highly recommend you check this version of the game out. I do say it is the definitive version and the most friendly version to get into because this game is actually easier than the original game. It's still challenging, don't get me wrong, but the game is very generous with how much experience it gives you to level up, and certain like gameplay sections are a lot easier too. And overall, it's a pretty good remaster, pretty good game. It is definitely one of my favorite games of the year, even though it's a remaster. All I can do is praise this game. I don't think there's anything that I can say that I didn't like. And this is definitely a game I'm going to be replaying over and over again. And I'm kind of sad that whenever I do get the Platinum Trophy, I won't be able to go for them anymore unless I make a new account. This is one of the times where I make an exception for going for a Platinum Trophy, and this game definitely deserves that. That is Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. That's everything I played this week, and I hope you guys enjoy. And once again, I want to ask you to put down in the comments what you've been playing during the week, and are you enjoying those games? Or maybe you didn't have time this week to play games. I just want to know what you guys are up to. Anyways, guys, I'll see you next time.